February 23, 1944. 21,000 feet above Gotha, Germany. The sky is a violent battlefield of contrails and burning aluminum. Flak bursts bloom like black, furious flowers, shaking the airframe of every bomber that dares to cross this stretch of hostile sky. The cold cuts through the oxygen masks, biting into cheeks, numbing fingers, turning breath into ice. And in the middle of this chaos, two silhouettes carve their way through the smoke. One, sturdy, boxy, almost stubborn in its presence. The other, sleeker, longer, its wings stretching wide like a predatory bird. A B-17 Flying Fortress and a B-24 Liberator. Same target, same mission, same deadly gauntlet. Yet every man aboard knows these two giants are not the same. Inside the B-17 Ruthless Angel, Captain John Spencer steadies the controls. The fortress shudders as shards of flak slap against the fuselage. The cockpit windows rattle, the smell of heated metal and cold lubricant fills the air. Still, she holds. She always holds. Just a few hundred yards to the right, the B-24 Iron Duchess dives slightly to avoid a swarm of incoming 20mm tracers. Her Davis wing flexes, slicing through the icy wind as Lieutenant Frank Dorsey curses under his breath. His bomber is faster, no question, capable of outrunning threats the B-17 must simply absorb. But she's temperamental, delicate, unforgiving. The kind of aircraft that demands respect or it kills you. Below them, Gotha's rail yards loom into view, one of the Reich's most guarded industrial arteries, today's target. But the Luftwaffe knows they're coming. Hell is about to open. A squadron of FW-190s rises out of the haze like sharks from deep water, closing fast. No hesitation, no warning, just a sudden spray of cannon fire that rips past the formation. Inside both bombers, waist gunners swing their 50 cals, shouting bearings over the intercom. The vibrating gun mounts, the metallic tang of cordite, the deafening staccato of 50 caliber fire. This is where the two bombers reveal themselves. Their differences, their strengths, their weaknesses. The B-17's gun platforms are tighter, enclosed, easier to brace against. The B-24's field of fire is wider, deadlier. But the gunners are standing on narrow catwalks, where one wrong step can end everything. Two aircraft, two philosophies of survival. A burst of cannon fire claws across the Liberator's wingtip, just a graze, but enough to send shivers through the flight deck. Dorsey mutters, "Easy, girl, stay together," because he knows what the B-24 is infamous for. She carries more bombs. She flies farther. She flies faster. But she does not forgive structural damage. Meanwhile, a fortress at the rear of the formation takes 3 direct hits to the nose. Fire engulfs the cockpit. Yet she refuses to break apart. She spirals away, burning, dying, but intact long enough for most of the crew to bail out. That is the legend of the Flying Fortress. And every man watching it unfold feels the weight of that truth. Above Gotha, with fighters circling and flak pouring upward, the question becomes more than engineering, more than politics, more than manufacturing numbers. It becomes survival. When everything goes wrong at 21,000 feet, which bomber do you pray you're flying? As the formation tightens for the bombing run, Spencer glances towards Iron Duchess through the frost-coated glass. He sees her nose turret tracking a diving 190. He sees the shimmer of frost on her long, slender wing. He sees the crew fighting to keep her level. And he wonders, like thousands of airmen did, Is she the future or a mistake? The bomb bay doors whine open. The target fills the northern sights. The Luftwaffe prepares a second wave. But before a single bomb can fall, something happens that forces both.
The second wave doesn't announce itself. It simply erupts. A swarm of Mi-109s burst through a cloud bank above the formation, sunlight flashing off their canopies like knives. They dive almost vertically, high speed, high precision, and aim directly at the bomber's most vulnerable point, the space between the lead elements and the second box. Captain Spencer feels it before he sees it, an instinct, a tightening in his chest as the fortress formation begins to ripple with panic. A dozen intercom voices crash into his ears at once. "Bandits! Bandits! 12 high! They're coming in fast! Real fast! Tail, get eyes on that second group! Now!" Then the first 20mm shell slams into the side of the B-17 two ships over, a molten fist tearing through the fuselage, sparking an explosion that kicks an entire panel off the aircraft. Debris spirals backward like fiery confetti. Inside Ruthless Angel, one of Spencer's gunners whispers, "Jesus." But he doesn't have time for fear. "Hold formation," he shouts, tightening his grip on the yoke. "We lose spacing, we lose everything." The truth is brutal and simple. A bomber formation's strength is collective firepower. Break the box, and each aircraft becomes a slow, isolated target. Easy prey. The B-24 Iron Duchess feels the pressure instantly. Her pilot, Lieutenant Dorsey, sees the fortresses shifting left and right, adjusting altitude, trying to hold the grid, trying not to collide, while still bracing for the impact of the incoming fighters. The B-24's long Davis wing makes close formation flying harder. It flexes more, catches turbulence differently. Every minor correction becomes exaggerated, and in this moment, this violent, unpredictable sky, precision is life. Dorsey forces his bomber to stay tight, even as the Duchess bucks in the slipstream. Sweat drips into his oxygen mask. His co-pilot keeps tapping the altimeter like the needle might fall off. The intercom crackles. "Waist gunner! Contact! Fighters rolling in from 10 o'clock!" Then the world erupts in a storm of .5 caliber thunder. Gunners on both aircraft unload streams of glowing tracers. Spent casings clatter across the floor. The vibration shudders through every rib of aluminum. The smell of gunpowder thickens the air. A 109 flashes past the B-24's nose turret, so close its camouflage pattern is visible. The turret spins, firing, tracking, pushing out so much recoil the front of the bomber trembles. The B-24 was built for speed, for long-range strikes, for hauling brutal payloads across unforgiving skies. But right now, in this furious close-quarters fight, she feels like a ballet dancer in a bar fight. Powerful, yes, but always one misstep from disaster. Then, it happens. A single 20mm round tears through the Liberator's hydraulic line. In an instant, the controls stiffen. The right aileron freezes. Dorsey nearly wrenches his shoulder trying to level the ship. Warning lights flare on the instrument panel, hydraulics dropping, pressure failing. He shouts into the mic, "We've lost partial control!" His flight engineer snaps back, "Switch to emergency boost, now!" For a moment, just one heart-stopping moment, the Liberator wavers out of formation. She dips lower, sliding under the protection of the B-17s above. Spencer sees it. He feels the fortress shudder, but she doesn't falter. The B-17 was designed with a kind of stubborn mass, a kind of inherent stability. Even damaged, she flies like something carved from steel and conviction. He pulled slightly back, giving the Duchess room, holding tight to the formation. "Come on, Frank, pull her back in." Through the canopy's frost-touched glass, he watches the B-24 slowly, agonously fight her way back into position. Dorsey grits his teeth, using every ounce of strength just to keep the bomber steady. Then that's when a new threat arrives. One the crews thought they'd left behind after the first minutes of the mission. A streak of smoke rises from the ground. A rocket. Then another. And another. Flak batteries have switched tactics. They're not firing shells anymore. They're firing air-burst rockets designed to detonate inside bomber formations. The sky lights up with violent, blooming white fire. One explodes directly beneath the B-17 in the high group. The blast rips through the bomb bay, fuel ignites, flames pour out like the bomber is coughing fire. But the aircraft stays intact, barely, miraculously. The B-24 behind it isn't so lucky. A shockwave slams upward, twisting its wing and sending it into a shallow, sickening roll. Spencer's heart spikes. He watches, helpless, as the damaged Liberator struggles, losing altitude, its wings shuddering like it might tear free. And then through the smoke, the impossible happens. The Duchess dives, on purpose, straight down toward the faltering B-24. Dorsey is going after her, trying to guide the wounded aircraft back into level flight, trying to keep her from hemorrhaging out of the sky. Even if it kills him, Spencer can't believe what he's seeing. The B-17 crew can only watch. Two Liberators, one wounded, one fighting for control, spiraling downward together as fighters circle above like vultures. And in that split second, between altitude and oblivion, a single truth becomes clearer than ever before. Sturdiness matters, but so does courage, and both bombers demand it in different ways. As the formation roars toward Gota's target zone, bombs armed, flak rising, and two B-24